Hey, everybody, it's Jim McCrae. So glad you're with us tonight. And again, that's going to be a plural thing. It always is for some reason. Never can get out of that. I'm glad you're with me tonight on Dug Up, Dusted Off. It has been a big day in the life of our country, and another president takes office. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about a lot of different things tonight. So I'm glad you're with me. I am glad that you have taken this time to take about a half an hour to dig up something, dust it off a little bit, maybe get some clarity on some things, and certainly always to challenge and be challenged, and challenge yourself, and challenge your own heart, and challenge the way you think. And that's what we do here, and that's what we try to do every single week we're on together. If you're not challenging yourself, you're not growing, and that's a big deal. So let's say hey to some folks here tonight. Madeline, great having you on, dear. So good to see you. Julie, great having you on. Sherry, good to see you. Lori Hinch, good to see you. How's your family, Lori? I hope you guys are doing okay. We've been praying for y'all. Certainly we know that y'all have been down in the weather. So I hope you all are doing well. And for those that are watching, hope all of y'all are staying safe and distanced, and also trying to move through 2021 in a brand new way, which means that although 2020 occurred, we know that everything that happened in 2020 is pretty much going to happen again in 2021, except our mind and our heart and our spirit are different. They are stronger, they are awake, and they are open, and that changes our attitude and our reactions to everything that goes on in this life. So I hope that your 2021 is already rocking and rolling forward. We have had a great time at Overcome. It has been a ton of fun to see new faces, new families, to feel the spirit of worship. It's really cool. We love seeing people come out and just with the smile on their face, ready to tackle the week. So we're having a great time. We are looking at possibly doing a radio church in Canton. We do that in Peachtree City, and it goes really well. Good Lord, the people down in well, it's about 10 degrees warmer down there too, but they love sitting outside. If it's 50 or above, they love sitting outside. But we do both speakers and radio down in Peachtree City. But in Canton, I'm thinking about, well, we're all sort of thinking about maybe going to a radio presence there that we did before, and it was great. We know people are a little freaked out about the COVID, and rightly so, and we know a lot of people are not engaging because of that on Sunday morning. So tell us what you think about it on the north side. What do you guys think about having a radio church again on the north side, just for maybe a couple of months, 45 minutes, pile into your car, turn the heat on, listen to some good music. We'd still have singers, we'd still have all of that, and then hear a powerful message, and then go back into your day. So let me know what you think about that. But most of all, hit that heart emoji, hit that like emoji if you are engaged, if you can hear, and if you are ready to dive in and dig in. So let me see those heart emojis, let me see those like emojis, and that way I know that all is coming through loud and clear. Today we had a changeover in power, a peaceful changeover in power. Thank the Lord, a peaceful changeover in power. Don't you like to hear those words? And it was there that we saw President Biden take office. We saw President Trump leave. I think I would have loved to have seen maybe him leave in a different way, but the way he left is the way he left. And we had a transfer of power that was peaceful. And that was exactly what America is all about. That is exactly how that process should work. And no matter whether you're on the left or the right, that doesn't matter. That sort of really, when I see those kind of things happen, meaning, we see a new government come into a new party take over leadership in government every 8 years, it really does warm my heart. And it's something that, I don't know, it just makes me think that we live in a really neat and very unique place. The Constitution is very unique. Our set of beliefs and liberties and freedoms are very unique. And so I proud of America today. And again, I'll be praying for Joe President Joe, and hope that he will lead well, and I hope the people that he surrounds himself will want to lead well also. So that's all we can do. That's all we are called to do, and that he will make the right decisions and be surrounded by people that will help him make those decisions. But I was thinking about, I kind of didn't want to talk about the inauguration, and because honestly, it was, I don't know, I just wasn't, I watched it for a little while, and then I was, sort of back to what I was doing. And back to what I was doing has been very important, because back to what I was doing and what I've been doing for the last week is redoing my mom's kitchen and redoing her living room. So I've painted. My sister has funded it. I've painted, and I'm the labor. I've painted. We're going to put down a new floor. We're going to put down. We're painting cabinet. She gets new doors, and a whole lot of other stuff. She deserves it. Now, this is the thing. I'm putting down the flooring. I've done this before, but I'm putting down the flooring, and I noticed there were some soft spots in the floor. So I pulled up I pulled up the vinyl that we had I pulled up the old floor, of course, pulled all that up, and I remember this old vinyl. I can see it now as a kid that we had this old yellow vinyl like pattern put down. I'll never forget it. And so brought back memories. Pulled that up, saw where the soft spot was, and then, but really the soft spot was in an area about this big. It was about a foot by a foot. But then once I pulled up once I really pulled back the vinyl from the wood, I noticed that it really had seeped into an area probably about as big as a door. And so I had to cut out this area. And I wasn't happy. I had to cut out this area. I had to replace it with a 1-inch plywood. I had to, I put some new stringers in there and to help it. And I did a lot of stuff anyway. And then I put it back all together. I have to do the same thing in the kitchen too. It's even bigger in the kitchen because their dishwasher leaked and they didn't know it. And so that's a whole other story. But what it made me think about was this. It really made me think about that one little spot that I thought was going to be so easy to fix. I asked Dad, I said, Dad, how did this get? He said, well, I know I had a leak there about 20 years ago. I said, 20 years ago? He said, yeah, I had a leak about there 20 years ago. And so I said, and so nothing didn't do, yeah, well, it just sort of stopped leaking. We got the leak fixed, and then we didn't do anything. The floor wasn't damaged then. And I started thinking that every situation that we deal with and we let it go unchecked, and this has got a lot of little rabbit holes we're going to go down tonight. But every little situation we deal with and it goes unchecked tends to permeate into a bigger issue for us. All right. I want to read you this out of 1 Corinthians 1, 5, 6 through 7. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, 6 through 7. Paul's talking to his Corinthian church. Your boasting is not good, Paul says. Do you not know that a little leaven leavens the whole lump? Cleanse out the old leaven, that you may be a new lump, as you really are unleavened, for Christ our Passover lamb has been sacrificed. So you have to understand sort of the imagery Paul's talking about. Leavened bread is really equated to sin, and unleavened is sort of synonymous with righteousness. In fact, when the Jews left during the first Passover and out of their escape from Egypt, it was because they celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread, because they didn't have time to put yeast in their bread. That's how much of a hurry they left and fled out of slavery. And so when Paul is talking about, a little bit of yeast puffs up, it certainly does. And we are called to sweep out that yeast, or unless just a little bit will infect the whole lump. And really we're to get rid of the old lump and replace it with a new lump, because Christ is our unleavened bread, we are unleavened because Christ is our Passover and has been sacrificed, so has justified us and made us righteous again, forgiven our sins. I hope hit that heart emoji, like emoji, if you understood any of what I just said, because really it's important that we understand that, because a lot of times we understand that just a little bit of yeast will infect the whole lump. Now think about that for a second. Think about whatever situation you're dealing with right now. Think about if it's left unchecked. Think about disagreements we have between people. Left unchecked, all right? Thank you, Julie. I know that. I appreciate that. That's actually, that you didn't even have to say that. I knew that already, but thank you. Let me actually do something. There. How's that? See, I like that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do more than that, Julie. How am I going to do this? I'm going to love that. There you go. Yay. Yay me. Yeah, I've lost my faith, invented more bad words in my head, by the way, Julie, not out loud, and but have literally lost my faith on this project. But if you think about it, when I pulled that piece up, just a little piece was soft, and I found that the rest of the wood had rotted as well. I realized that there's some things that if left unchecked in our own life, and now Paul's talking specifically about sin. He's really hammering people. If sin is unrepentant, if sin is left to go unchecked, say whatever it is, you name it. You just name any of the 10 Commandments. If it's left to fester in our lives, all right, then all of a sudden we really begin to create a greater illness in our heart. We create a greater, we create a more destructive pattern in our life. Okay, does that make sense? And so it's really important that as we walk through the world and we walk through life, that the issues that we have, the problems that we have, we try to get a grasp on them immediately, and then we deal with them, look at them objectively, look at ourselves objectively, and then started thinking about that. And I want you to think about what it is in your life that's been left unchecked. It could be an unresolved argument with another person, unresolved dispute with an employee or an employee. It could be, it could be 8,000 different things, okay? I want to tell you from experience, if you leave unresolved with an employee or a coworker or anybody in wherever you are, if you leave unresolved stuff there, that creates just a vacuum for people to create their own narratives, create their own stories about whatever it is. It really becomes a very dangerous thing. You need to immediately take a witness, get somebody in there with you, talk that thing out, get that thing settled immediately, all right? Go be reconciled with your brother or your sister, okay? Because all of that stuff left unchecked, I'm telling you, you pull up that piece of softwood, you're going to find the whole house rotted out. And it doesn't take long to do that, all right? But then I started thinking about another way in which, the reason we need to sweep out this yeast. I believe that in a lot of ways, we have gotten into a culture that we honestly know, and let's take it from through the back door in a way. We know the wood is rotten. We know that things are not right in Denmark, that we know that our little red wagon, the wheels are falling off. But you know what we present to people? We present a very well-oiled machine. That simple phrase, never let them see you sweat. We let them see the duck on top of the water, but we're paddling like you know what underneath. And it's there that, and I think I'm talking more about people. First of all, I'm talking certainly about religious leaders. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is, all right? If the guy or the girl has never, if it just looks too good to be true, it certainly is. People are always hiding something about themselves, I believe. And I believe it's kind of like the Pharisees, that they're very good at polishing the outside of the cup, as Jesus would say. Instead, he would say that the inside is really what needs to be cleaned. He would say that the Pharisees look like whitewashed sepulchres, really beautiful on this outside. If you've been to any funeral, you'll see how beautiful the coffin is, but inside represents death. And something unclean. And so here we have this sort of beautiful imagery about what it might look like for our own lives. What is the one thing that maybe it's your dirty little secret? I don't know what it is in your life that you want to hide from everybody else, but we're so good at that now. Facebook, social media allows us to present personas that absolutely speak to exactly what we want people to see and hear. We could be an absolute mess falling apart, but the persona that we present on Facebook and social media and all these other instances are really an image of what we hope to be, and what we think we should be, and what the world really is telling us that we should be. I think of our young people right now, how they are so trapped in sort of this rinse cycle of image. All right. I've met people, I see people on Facebook who are, I know pastors for sure. Oh my Lord. And I will not name names, but good Lord, they are pastors that the outside of the cup looks really good, but the inside is absolutely filthy. I think one of the things that made me relate to people so well is that I stood up and told them the filth in my own life. I was very honest about the filth and the junk in my own life, and allowed them to understand that I'm dealing with the same issues that they're dealing with. I'm not perfect at them, certainly, and I certainly have made mistakes, and I will make many more mistakes in my life before the day I die. It's when you want to seem like the shine is from the outside to the inside, that's where you get in trouble. And that's where some people, again, I know pastors and clergy and laity, and I know that when they present pictures of themselves and they present themselves in such a way that, I love pastors that talk about grace that have no grace whatsoever. And I know they don't. And and I certainly have admitted I haven't had grace in certain instances, but I have admitted that's the thing. I'm at least willing to say, hey, I have failed miserably in this area. I don't try to make myself out to look like a shiny cup. But again, I believe that's with all of us, I see people that are married that I know their marriages are absolutely in distress, and yet they look like the perfect couple. And so I believe it's time to pull the mask off a lot of ways in our life. I think that, when, and that gets to the point of how we look at each other, how we judge one another, don't you think? When we see other people, do we resent them for looking a certain way? Do we resent them for seemingly having everything that we don't have, when you really don't know what they have and what they don't have? You really don't know what they're going through. You really don't understand the stress or the trauma, the all the horrible things that are happening in their lives until you've walked literally in their shoes. And it's a really it's interesting how we can judge people. The irony is that people project exactly what you want them to see, and yet we resent them for the very thing they project that we want them to see, but they're really not that way at all. They're really broken inside. They're just like us. And if they presented their brokenness instead of the resentment and the jealousy, we would probably swoop in to try to say, hey, look, you're just like me. How ironic is that? Diabolically paradoxical is that? And I believe that instead of judging people for seemingly looking like they have a perfect life or projecting that perfect life, that we need to be really to see deeper. And maybe if we really saw deeper, and maybe if we really listened, and I'm able to pick up on these things in the people's lives. And a lot of times I've been in the middle of those with their lives, so I would never
talk about that publicly, but I certainly know things about people that other people don't. But you can pick up on things if we're in tune with their heart, with their spirit, with what they're saying. We can pick up on things about people, and I think we just need to be listening harder as a culture, as a group, as a species. My goodness, instead of screaming our point of view, we need to be less talking and more listening to one another that hears the heart of another human being. And I believe that first starts out with sweeping the yeast and cleaning our own heart and understanding that our heart we need to try to get our own backyard and front yard and house in order as much as we can before we go try to judge or fix somebody else's house. And because we have no idea what's going behind the curtain, underneath the water, again, the tip of the iceberg syndrome. We have no idea what's happening in the lives of other people. And I think it goes back to, when I see politicians take power, and when I see people, I'll see a politician say one thing one week, and one side will go, yay, 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 and then the next week they say completely something different or counter to what they had said previously. And basically they just lied. And so what we don't perceive for some reason is because I guess our attention span has gotten so small. We live on a 24-hour news cycle. They flip-flop and we think, okay, well, there you go. They must believe that now, and that fits perfectly with my ideology. They flip-flop because they took a poll and they heard that your ideology changed, so they changed their ideology as well, their position as well. And when I see politicians do that, it just saddens me. And I was telling Sherry one day, I was like, man, if I wasn't a pastor, I'd be a politician. I go, no way, I couldn't do that. I couldn't live with myself. I couldn't flip-flop like that. I couldn't be able to say one thing one day and then take a poll and then do something else. I think that's the yeast would start to grow in my life. The puffing up would start to start to take over when really, when I sweep out the yeast, I'm able to humble myself in front of another human being. I'm able to let my yes be yes and my no be no. And I'm able to say, this is where I stand, this is the truth, and this is what I'm going to stand on. So help me God. And it might not be popular, and it might not be popular, and I'm going to be crucified for it, but at least I'm going to stand there, and I'm not going to let anybody persuade me to do something else. And because I believe this is where God wants me to be, and especially if it's biblical, I know that's where God wants me to be. All right? Leaders have to make hard choices, but as long as they're biblical, I think that there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to agree with everything. It's just you don't need to try to cancel them. And that becomes unbiblical. Cancel culture is unbiblical. Trying to silence somebody is unbiblical. But again, I believe that just goes back to that yeast growing all in our lives. And I think we need to examine that in 2021. I think we really need to start to chunk the excess baggage out of 2020 and bring a new lump into 2021 to try to say, you know what, God, shine your holiness upon my heart. I'm not going to get it right and I'm not going to get it perfect, but at least when you allow the Lord to shine his righteousness upon your heart, his perfection upon your heart, at least you can see where you're imperfect. At least, because, and good Lord, again, I know that it seems just to infect leaders in church, religious leaders the most, because what happens is they get just seeped in power, seeped in, this facade that I am more righteous than other people, and they like to project that. But and they stop allowing God's righteousness to change them. They just say, I'm judge, jury, and executioner, and I'm going to execute God's will because, someone's made a mistake. And I think I'm picking on religious leaders because I'm one, but that's filtered into our culture today. When we stop being humble, when we stop being filled with humility, when we stop saying that the inside of the cup in my life is dirty and I need to tend to it. What we tend to do is pick out the dirt in the lives of other people. And so, again, I said in the very beginning how not sweeping out the yeast and allow it to permeate leads to so many different rabbit holes in our lives. It leads to so many different circumstances where we stop becoming the person God's called us to be. B, we start judging other people for who they are without understanding there's a deeper issue in their lives. We start just everything we talked about tonight. I mean, and again, I think it's going to take a lot of humility for us all to examine ourselves and invite God to examine ourselves and really do that with authenticity. Let me see what some of these comments are. Seems part of life is indeed fixing, adjusting, growing, reconverting, and finding growth paths. Yeah, enjoy being young enough to replace wood. I recall a pretty notable carpenter. Yeah, amen to that. Carpentry is not easy. I'm going to tell you that right now. I give Jesus every bit of credit for that. Actually, they think he was a stone worker, but that's another story. Julie said, "You're an awesome son." I want to reiterate that again and lift that up, Julie. Yes, no worries. I thank you for that. Trent is actively sick now, and Lori, I'm so sorry to hear that. Okay, so he doesn't have pneumonia. All right, good Lord, y'all have been through it. Goodness gracious, I just am praying for you, my friends. Sherry says, yes, just unloaded some clergy from my social media. Talk a game of grace. That talk a game of grace are nothing but judgment or nothing. Yeah, not sure which is worse. Yeah, it's horrible, Sherry. We know them. They know that we know them, and they know that we know them. And it's bad. It's so bad. But that's just the tip of the iceberg with a lot of people there. So, and again, I've been in that game, brothers and sisters. I'm not throwing stones that I haven't thrown before. Or haven't been thrown at me, and I'm certainly have thrown them at other people. So I'm not, I felt bad for judging your music choice. We can change nicknames. I'm now Thumper. I don't know your, what music choice was it, Julie? What did you judge by? What judging of music was it? I have a very eclectic ear that likes to listen to all kinds of music, everything from headbanging to classical to opera to everything in between. I am a connoisseur of all different kinds of music. So let's think about that, guys. Let's just think about for a second the yeast in our hearts and how it's puffed us up. I guess that goes, the puffing up is another kind of theme for Paul. The puffing up allows, when we don't get rid of the yeast, and I guess I already said that in a way, but I didn't say it the way Paul said it, but the puffing up in a way is the puffing up means that a person reads their own press clippings way too often. And they get so prideful and so arrogant that they don't listen to the people around them. They think they're so righteous and doing so well on the side of God that they then judge others because of what they themselves won't see that they're guilty of any longer. They're puffed up in their own spirit. Paul will say that several times. So, yeah, we've got people that are puffed up in their own spirit, puffed up in laity, puffed up. And see, I think... My goodness, I think the church, if it comes out of this COVID and it's the same as it's been the year in 2019 as it was in 2019 and it's the same in 2021, we're in a whole heck of a lot of trouble. The church needs to wake up. The church laity need to wake up. Church people, I'm talking about myself included, church people just need to wake up and start being what Christ has called them to be. To clean the inside of their cup, to sweep out the yeast, to understand that they're not what they're presenting people. If they're not presenting the whole truth and nothing but the truth, to turn their hearts inside and out, to not be afraid to be vulnerable in front of other people, and not to be afraid to share their brokenness and their valleys, but most of all for church people to start to learn to listen again. And I believe the yeast just infects our ears worse than anything else. It clogs them up, and it's unable to listen to another human being's story and then in response to present grace to that human being. And so I'm hoping that as we go into 2021, you might not agree politically with Biden and the left Democrats that are I almost just said leftists, rightists, leftists, whatever. The very left, the very liberal Democrats, and the very conservative Republicans. If you're not willing to listen, and all you are willing to do is to disparage, then you haven't learned a thing about what's in your own heart. And you certainly haven't started living a life of listening as Christ would ask us to do, which is a heart of humility, which is a heart of love. To love is to listen to another human being's heart, to really intently listen to their heart, their story, and who they are. And let's get out of David syndrome. David syndrome is when everybody thought David was unworthy because they saw the exterior of who he was, but yet God saw the heart. And by the way, for all the posers that are out there, whoever listens, and we've got a lot of people that come on and listen to these things later, for all you posers out there that are trying to put on a facade for people to believe something that you're not, there are millions and millions, tens of billions of people in the kingdom of heaven right now that know exactly who you are. Your Lord knows exactly who you are. And so you might be fooling a few people, and you might even be fooling yourself, but you're not fooling anybody in the kingdom of heaven. And I suggest that we all take a good hard look at who we are and what we are. And by doing so, when we do that, we're able to start to really allow God to shine his light upon us and to be able to help us work through the issues that we have in our life. I'm going to tell you right now, the people that I follow are the people that have hit rock bottom and allowed themselves to have the holiness of Christ shine upon them, to admit their mistakes, and then to be a testimony to say, you know what, this is how I picked myself up, and this is how I allowed God to use me in a new and powerful way. Those are the people I applaud. Those are the people I gravitate towards. Those are the people that really get me going, not the other ones that sit in their high places, whether it's in a church, a business, or anywhere else. Those people, you know, they're posers, and they don't do a thing for me. Many have been hurt or lit down by church stumbles, but if we all zoom straight to the simple, honest love of Christ, we were good. Yeah, very much so, very much so. Guys, I've enjoyed being with you guys tonight. Again, thank you, Ron, for being on, Sherry and Julie, and Lori, praying for you always, and Madeline, good to have you on tonight. And who else was on? And those that were watching, and those that came on and watched, and those that got offended and left, so good to have you on with us tonight. Pick out some topics you might want to talk about next week. Put them on the comment box. We'd love to hear from that. We'd love to dive into that. I'd love to explore those things that are on your heart. Put them in the comment box, though. Let me know what that looks like. I'm still not knowing what this new age music is. What is that stuff? Is that my like countdown music you're talking about, Julie? I don't know what that is. I have no idea what you're talking about. But anyway, that's not unusual for a man to not know what some people are talking about. I'm just a man, just a simple man. I think it must be my countdown music. So anyway, all right, guys, love you so very much. Hit that heart emoji, hit that like emoji if this penetrated your heart and in a way that might have got you thinking about who you are. And okay, well, you know what? It's my intro music. I love that intro, dude. I love it. And I love my countdown music. And better yet, with all of my heart, I love my closing music. So this is just for you, Julie Sanders. May God rock your world tonight. We'll see you later, guys. Bye.